Welcome to Garden Chatter, where we connect gardeners, bloggers, and experts so we can all grow and learn together. Today we get to talk about hot peppers with the pepper guy, and in just a moment we'll introduce him. I just wanted to apologize for last week's Garden Chatter. We had a major technology glitch that prevented us from meeting with Matt Powers. We rescheduled him for April, so look for that. And I'm happy that my co-host made it back from the Chicago Flower and Garden Show. She was driving a bit. So, Bren, how are you doing? Did you made it back okay?
It was really nice once I hit Indiana into the Ohio farmland. But everybody in town drives a little too fast for me, right? But it was a great show, Adam, and so I hope people will engage with us this week, and I'm just going to give you a few little tips here. If you're watching us on the Google Hangout, you can click right up in the right-hand corner there. Just click on that little grid, and a Q&A box will come down. If you click that again, you'll have a whole comment column where I hope you'll say hi and maybe ask some questions for our guest today, which I'm really excited to introduce everybody to, and Adam, to Terry Berke. He is from Seminous Seeds, and I call him the pepper guy. He is awesome. So, Terry, how are you doing tonight?
Good. Thank you for having me on your show.
So I'm in Zone 5B, Ohio, and Adam, you want to share where you're at?
Well, I'm in Southern Oregon, so I think we're in 8A. And where are you at, Terry?
I'm in Northern California near Sacramento.
And what zone is it down there? I know it's a lot more mild and warm than where I am, but not sure.
We have a range of zones depending on if you're on the coast or up in the mountains or in the valley. Right where I live, I think it's like zone 6 or 5 maybe.
Well, I was wondering, Terry, if you could just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're up to, and maybe how you got, what happened along your life, just briefly, to bring you to being the hot pepper guy, doing breeding on hot peppers.
So I'm the hot pepper breeder for Seminous Vegetable Seeds. I've been here for 15 years. Before that, I worked in a number of different institutes or universities, but all the time I was working on plant breeding and genetics. To get to this level of position, usually they require a PhD. I got my PhD at University of Nebraska in 1990, and I've been working with peppers now for almost 20 years. It's an enjoyable crop, a very visual crop. I enjoy growing peppers, eating peppers, cooking with peppers. I eat hot peppers almost every day.
Very good. Can we call you Dr. Pepper?
Yeah, sure. That's the official drink in my breeding project.
I want to ask him, how many times has he accidentally been touching peppers and then did this?
Yeah, you only do that once, and then you learn.
Yeah.
The capsaicin sticks to your fingers, and then it'll burn whatever you touch, so you have to be careful.
Do you have any tips if you accidentally do that? What someone would be able to do? Like, what can you do to stop burning? Is there anything?
Time is the best healer, unfortunately. Water, lots of water. Capsaicin is soluble in oil. Some people have tried vegetable oil on their hands to dissolve it and remove it. For me, the best is actually a dilute bleach solution, which basically dissolves your outer layer of skin cells and washes it off.
Well, that's a good tip. I hope I don't have to use.
Yeah, exactly. One of those things that's good to know, but you hope you never have to use it.
Yeah. So, Terry, what kind of peppers are you mostly working with?
So I'm responsible for Mexico, So I work for all the Mexican hot pepper types. I've got a picture here that shows kind of, this is what I do. I work on jalapeno, ancho, serrano, habanero. There's roughly 12 different market types in Mexico. That's about 80% of my effort, and I go there maybe 5 or 6 times a year to evaluate new hybrids. 10% of my time I spend on the U.S. For the U.S., I work on a sweet banana pepper, a sweet cherry pepper. We're working on a sweet habanero pepper, but don't tell anybody. It's still experimental. So I do more than just hot peppers. I also do what we call some of the specialty sweet peppers. Not blocky pepper or bell pepper, though. We have 3 breeders in Florida that handle bell peppers.
So I was wondering what kind of traits are you usually trying to breed for? How, you know, what are the growers looking for? Some of the things you're working on.
So let's say we're working on jalapenos for Mexico, and you've got the standard hybrid down there, which is actually one of mine. We introduced it 5 or 6 years ago. It's the leading jalapeno in Mexico. It's got a good combination of size, earliness, concentrated set, and quality, excellent shelf life, very good yields, and good firmness. So when you're trying to beat something like that, you have to think about how can you improve such a thing. Maybe it's better size, better disease resistance package, better earliness, better quality, or some combination thereof. The trend in Mexico is for bigger, whether you're talking serranos, habaneros, jalapenos, whatever fruit type. The growers are looking for bigger size. Part of that is just a macho thing. They want to be able to brag that they've got the biggest fruit. You know, that's Mexico. But part of it, I think, is driven by labor cost. When you think about it, the cost of hand-picking motions to fill a 5-gallon bucket with a 2-inch serrano versus a 3-inch serrano, a bigger fruit is going to fill your bucket faster and decrease your harvest cost. And we think that's a major driver in Mexico right now.
That makes sense.
So how does the traditional breeding selection process work? It's kind of confusing to me.
So when we make a hybrid, you have to cross 2 parents together. You can think about it in terms that you're a hybrid, you have a mother and a father, and then maybe you have siblings that look similar to you but not the same. So plant breeding is similar to that. We develop parental lines, and we generally work in 2 gene pools, a female gene pool and a male gene pool. So you develop new female lines, you develop new male lines, then you cross them together in all possible combinations. And so you'll get a series of hybrids that are similar but not the same, kind of like you're similar to your siblings but not the same. And then you plant them and evaluate them. For me, there's no single major growing area for jalapenos, for example. They're grown all over Mexico. And they like to produce year-round, so they'll plant, let's say, right now they're harvesting in Sinaloa, which is their winter slot. They're sowing right now in the Bajío area in central Mexico. That's their spring and early summer slot. Shortly, they'll start planting in Chihuahua. That's the full summer slot. They'll come off in July and August in Chihuahua. In the fall, they come out of Tamaulipas. Well, you can imagine if you did that around the U.S., you're planting in Florida and in Texas and in Ohio and in Idaho, for example. The growing conditions are quite different. The day length is different, the temperature, the humidity. So my hybrids have to be widely adapted. They want to grow the same hybrid everywhere in Mexico. So I take the testing approach of wide adaptation. I test my hybrids all over the U.S. and Mexico. By the time it actually goes commercial, and you might see it in a home garden center or in a grower's field, I've looked at it 35 or 40 times before I'll put my stamp of approval on a hybrid to go commercial. You know, I want to make sure that it's widely adapted and it's going to provide value to the grower and to the consumer. It has to, you know, be a win-win situation, provide good yield and earliness and disease resistance to the grower, and good fruit quality and flavor and pungency for the consumer.
I'm excited right now. We have Tracy Blevins just popped on in the Q&A bar there. Tracy's from plantsmath.com. And so she wants to know, what do you think about grafted peppers?
Grafted peppers? Probably not. The grafted tomatoes, yeah. There's a lot of interest in grafted tomatoes, and a lot of the industry has gone to grafted tomatoes. Tomatoes generally have a very weak root system, and when you graft onto a good rootstock, you can overcome that. Peppers, on the other hand, generally have a pretty strong root system compared to tomato, and we really haven't seen much benefit from grafting peppers. When you pay for a grafted plant, you're paying 3 times. You're paying for the rootstock, you're paying for the scion, and you're paying the cost of the grafting operation. So you better get some value out of that plant to be able to pay for that grafted seedling.
Absolutely. I was wondering, hey, maybe we should mention that shirt. We have a giveaway tonight.
Oh, yeah. All right, Terry, you're gonna model it for us?
Yeah, Terry graciously offered to do a giveaway of a shirt, Seminous Peppers. And
it's a nice summery shirt, light cotton. All you have to tell me is men's or women's and what size. We have from small through extra large. And we'll offer a free shirt to whoever brand decides is the winner.
That's right. And Brandon and I, we were wondering how we might do that, and we decided that we really want to have people engage with the questions and comments as much as possible, because that's one of the fun features of doing these Hangouts live. And so far we have Diane and Tracy have made comments. So they're our first 2 contestants. If you don't have any real question, just do a little shout out, say, hey, I'm in such and such town, and yeah, that'd be fine. So let's see, what else? Tracy also is wondering, what's your favorite jalapeno variety? She says, I live in Virginia and experience some periods of warm nights, love peppers. Any thoughts on your favorite?
So jalapeno is my favorite fruit type. Of all the hot peppers, I enjoy eating jalapenos the most because they're so versatile. You can harvest them fresh and dice them for a pico de gallo salsa. You can roast them whole on the grill and eat them that way. You can pickle them. I have a couple good recipes for pickled jalapenos. And also, if you let them go to red, you can smoke them and dry them, and that becomes chipotle. A lot of people don't realize that the chipotle powder is from a dried, smoked red jalapeno. So I like all jalapeno in all those forms. As far as a favorite variety, the leading hybrid in Mexico right now is a number. It's 5807, and that's usually what I plant in the borders of my field that we sample for eating every summer. And that's a lot of what you're getting in the grocery stores in the U.S. right now is coming out of Mexico, and those are 5807 fruits.
Very good. I wonder, Diane had a question. Diane Blazek. She said you've bred some of the AAS winners, right? Which ones?
So I've had 6 All-America selection winners. My first one was, I believe, 2006, perhaps, called Mariachi. That's a Rio de Oro type. In 2007, we came out with a Pasilla called Holy Moly. Pasillas are one of the 3 hot pepper ingredients in mole, the Mexican chocolate hot sauce. Then we took a couple years break from entering the All-America trials, but more recently we've been back and had several winners. Last year, Sweet Sunset, which is a sweet banana, was announced as a winner. And then this year I had 3 winners. We had Emerald Fire, a jalapeno. We had Fiery Flare, a Fresno type. And then Hot Sunset, which is a hot banana, a complement to Sweet Sunset. So we've got almost all the major segments covered, and we've got, hopefully we'll have some more coming in the future to cover all the segments.
Congratulations, that's very impressive.
Thank you.
3 this year, wow.
Many breeders, you know, never win or might only win 1 All-America award during their career. And I've been fortunate to have 6 already, and hope to have more.
Those are some good peppers. When I met you last summer, I actually took a few of them back home with me from California to Ohio, and they look great when I got them home. And used them up in some salsa recipes, you know. And one of the real hot ones, my neighbor who's crazy about hot stuff, he just bit right into it. But so Terry, when I met you, we talked about how when a pepper is stressed, it gets hotter. Can we kind of talk about that? Can you like share that with our audience?
So yeah, pungency is a common question. People want to know how hot is this variety, how hot is that variety, but pungency tends to vary is the short answer. And what makes it vary, we don't really understand, other than we know stress can increase the heat level of a given variety. We've got historical data on long-term commercial checks going back 8 to 10 years, and when you calculate the mean and the range of pungency in those varieties, it can vary tremendously. For example, Corcel, which was my first Poblano hybrid home run, averages about 300 Scoville heat units. It's fairly mild, but the range is anywhere from 50 to 600. So you see it can vary tremendously from year to year. And as far as what makes it vary, it can be temperature. Hot temperatures tend to stress the plants. Insect attack, disease pressure, drought stress, if you don't water them enough, or some combination thereof. In general, peppers like to be happy. People laugh at me when I talk about happy plants, but peppers like it not too hot, not too cold, not too wet, not too dry. They're very happy in those conditions, and that's challenging for a home gardener to maintain that, especially the watering regime. Peppers don't like wet feet, but they don't like dry feet either. They like a nice constant moisture. In our experimental fields, we use soil probes to monitor the moisture content, and when it drops below, I think it's 70% moisture, the irrigation pump kicks on and brings it up to 80%. So we try to maintain between 70 to 80% soil moisture. Also, the position of the fruit on the plant can make a difference. When you think of peppers, they tend to set in the crown, the base of the plant first, and then as the plant grows, the fruit move further up the plant. The first fruit you harvest tend to be lower pungency than fruit higher up in the plant. And we're not sure why that is either, whether it's the plant gets stressed as it increases its fruit load, it's trying to support more fruit, or maybe it's just getting tired out. Maybe it's running out of fertilizer or other nutrients, and so it's getting stressed in that way. So it's a complex question, and that's a long answer, but the short answer is when somebody asks me what's the heat level of this variety or that variety, I'll give it as a range. I'll say, well, it ranges from 1,500 to 2,000 Scoville, and that's reality. It varies depending on your location and what kind of stress the plants are under.
I was wondering, well, actually, we had another question. I'm looking over here. Let's see. Oh, Diane wanted to know about the Scoville units and how they're determined. So that ties perfectly in with what you were just talking about. So maybe you could give us a little bit of a range, because I'm only vaguely familiar. And then how do you determine them?
Okay, so for years and years, people tried to quantify heat levels in peppers. And my hot might be your mild, might be Bren's medium heat level. Everybody has a little bit different heat scale. So there was a chemist named Wilbur Scoville who devised an objective way to measure heat about 100 years ago by doing dilution series. He would grind up a pepper, and then he would dilute it, 1 part per 100, 1 part per 1,000, 1 part per 10,000, and so on. And then he would give these dilutions to a taste panel, and then they would taste them and talk about how hot they perceive something to be, and then they would kind of come to a consensus on a particular heat level. And he called these heat units, or dilution Scoville heat units. More recently, we've gotten laboratory equipment that can extract the capsaicin from the fruit and quantify it to parts per million. And to convert 16 parts per million equals 1 Scoville heat unit. So pure capsaicin obviously is 1,000,000 parts per million, and if you had a solution of pure capsaicin, it would be 16 million Scoville heat units. So that's wicked hot. That's nasty stuff. You wear a full hazmat suit and respirator and whatever you can to handle that kind of stuff. When we talk about peppers, obviously a sweet pepper has no capsaicin, so it's 0 Scoville heat units. A mild pepper like an Anaheim or a Poblano might be 100 Scoville heat units. Something that's more of a medium heat level like a Fresno pepper might be 2,000 Scoville heat units. Jalapenos usually run about 3,000 to 3,500 Scoville heat units. Then as you go up the heat scale, you get to habanero. They run about 20,000 Scoville heat units. And more recently, there's been some of the super hot peppers, like the boot jalapeno, the Naga viper. Those things are wicked hot. They run around 100,000 Scoville heat units. Now, the one thing you have to remember is you have to know what basis they're expressed in. They can be expressed on a fresh fruit basis or a dried fruit basis. All the units I give are expressed on a fresh fruit basis, because that's normally what growers sell, and so I try to have it be related to what the growers provide. When people talk about habaneros and the super hots like boot jalapeno, many times they'll report it on a dry fruit basis. So you might hear habaneros at 150,000 or 200,000 Scovilles. That's on a dry basis. And you might hear boot jalapeno rated at 1,000,000 Scoville heat units. That's on a dry fruit basis. So when you hear a number, you have to understand, is that reported on a fresh or dried basis?
So when we're talking about these really hot peppers, and I've experienced a few really hot peppers, why? I mean, what is the excitement with having such a hot pepper? Is it different in Mexico than America? I mean, why?
People just, they get an endorphin rush from eating hot peppers. It stimulates your metabolism, and it generates a lot of endorphins, which give you that good feeling. I like hot peppers. I'm not afraid to bite into a habanero. Last year I had some boot jalapenos in my greenhouse, and I was out there doing some evaluations one afternoon, and I'm looking at the boot jalapenos thinking, they can't really be that hot, can they? So I took a bite out of one. Man alive, that just about killed me. But there's nothing you can do in the greenhouse, right? You just stand there and sweat till it passes. But then afterwards, you get this massive endorphin rush, and it just feels great. So.
Oh man, you and my neighbor would get along great.
Marathons, right? Or they do other, endurance things that generate endorphins and give them a nice feeling. So.
Right. So, really quick, I want to just mention, because there's a few people on Twitter that's having a hard time commenting on the Hangout. You can also use the hashtag Garden Chatter on Twitter. So if you have a question for Terry, please tweet us at hashtag Garden Chatter.
Yeah, we did discover that if you're on a mobile device, you can't actually get on and leave comments and questions. It has to be a laptop or a desktop PC. So that's a bummer, but maybe that'll change eventually. So another question, do you have, and this kind of ties maybe in with one question that Casey Tomato put on here. Do you have any varieties that are available to the home gardener?
Yeah, we sell a number of varieties through the Home Garden channel. We don't brand them Seminus ourselves. Normally what we do is we sell the seed to somebody like Berke or Park or Shumway. Then they just put their label on it and sell it. We sell, for example, a cayenne pepper called Messia. I've seen that listed in several home garden catalogs. We sell a hot cherry called Cherry Bomb. I've seen that listed in several home garden catalogs. I'm sure a lot of the new All-America winners will be carried. I've seen Mariachi carried for several years in some of the home garden catalogs. So yeah, we have a lot of stuff available for sale through Home Garden.
All right, and then this is the somewhat related question, I think. Casey Tomato asked, does Seminus develop any pepper varieties specifically developed for low input organic growing conditions?
We don't breed specifically for organic, but our varieties tend to fit pretty well into organic systems because of our disease resistance and our hybrid vigor. And there are a number of organic growers in California that I know use my varieties, especially I've seen Corcel, my Poblano, in a number of organic fields. I've seen Gypsy. Gypsy is a sweet Hungarian wax that tends to be very popular in the organic industry. More recently, my Jalapeno 5807 is catching on in the organic industry. Yeah, our combination of hybrid vigor and disease resistance fits in really well with the organic practices.
Yeah, those gypsies are really good, and I grow in my big vegetable garden all organic, and they're yummy. They're good. They've been around for a while, haven't they? The gypsy. Yeah.
So I was wondering, you have all those peppers you're keeping track of at your station. Do you have a home garden or grow some at home, or do you have plenty that you deal with every day? Just curious.
I have a garden at home. I've been a gardener for most of my life. I have 3 orchards, a big vegetable garden, a flower garden, but I don't do any peppers at home. I get enough of them at work. It's nice to go home and take a break from them. At work this year, I'll probably have 10 acres of peppers in my field. That's roughly 200,000 plants. And by the end of the summer, I'll have looked at every single plant, some of them multiple times. So it's nice when I go home from work to take a break from looking at peppers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, you gave us a couple.
It's not just that I have peppers here at our home station in California. As part of my strategy for breeding for wide adaptation, I have nurseries in Florida, Mexico, and Guatemala. and I rotate my breeding nurseries among those locations. So by the time, let's say, a new female line or a new male line makes it into my crossing block, I'll have looked at it in Florida, Guatemala, Mexico, and California. And it has to do well in all of those locations before I'll put it into my crossing block and try to make hybrids with it. So I spent a fair amount of time traveling. For example, last month I was in Mexico in Sinaloa looking at my winter breeding nursery. In December I was in Florida looking at my fall breeding nursery. I was also in China in December. I do some consulting with our breeders in Asia, and so I went to China to help them with their breeding programs. I've been to places like Peru and Italy and India, Sri Lanka. I get around. It's a fun job. I tell people my job description is I get paid to fly all over the world and eat hot peppers. It's a great job.
On that note, do you have a favorite recipe?
So I have a pickled jalapeno recipe that I like. It's got some spices in it like thyme and sage, and it's got olive oil and onions and carrots. But the main ingredient is jalapenos, and I have a series of jalapenos with different pungency levels. I have a sweet jalapeno, and actually we're just launching it in the home garden industry. We call it Trick You because you look at it, you think it's hot, but it's completely sweet like a bell pepper, but has that typical jalapeno flavor and shape and taste. I've got a mild jalapeno, a medium jalapeno, a hot jalapeno, a very hot jalapeno. So I'll make jars of different heat levels, and then I'll take a sweet jalapeno and munch it down like a piece of candy, and then I'll hand a hot jalapeno to my friend and say, "Here, try this. It's good." He'll take one bite out of it and go, "Wow, this is too hot. How do you eat these things?" Pepper breeder practical jokes.
That's pretty good.
I'm going to remember that if I ever see you again.
Yeah, I can't wait till my sweet habanero goes commercial. Then I can do that with habaneros. I can munch down a sweet habanero and then hand somebody a hot habanero and say, "Here, try that."
No. You could be hospitalized. Sorry.
Pain for a while anyway. Yeah.
I tell people they won't kill you. I mean, you might wish you were dead for a while, but they won't kill you.
No one died of a hot pepper.
No.
Right. I love it. Peppers are fun. Maybe that's why the All-American selection they call this the year of the pepper. Maybe that's why, because they're so much fun, right?
Yeah, peppers are a lot of fun.
Well, you gave a couple hints about soil moisture and that for growing peppers at home for the home gardener that wants to maybe dive into peppers. Do you have any more hints that could be helpful?
So the most common mistake the home gardener makes is they don't provide enough nitrogen. Peppers are nitrogen sponges. They'll just soak it up. The commercial growers, they'll apply 250 or 300 pounds of nitrogen per acre to their pepper crop. The older varieties and maybe 20, 30 years ago, they couldn't handle that much nitrogen. It would blow the flowers right off the plant. But the newer varieties, especially the latest round of hybrids out there, has been bred specifically for higher nitrogen conditions to provide higher yields and better quality. So I tell the home gardener, make sure you provide enough nitrogen for your peppers. And then the second common mistake they make is uneven watering. I mentioned earlier peppers like it not too wet, not too dry. If you allow them to dry out and then you flood them, the fruit grows unevenly and you tend to get blossom end rot. And that can ruin the fruit, make them unedible. So try to provide, a good level of nitrogen and regular, even watering. Those are the two keys to growing peppers in the home garden.
Sounds good. I think that was probably my mistake somewhat last year. My poblanos, I got a lot of blossom end rot. Probably didn't consistently water them well enough. They grew. They look like they. One other thought. I've tried to grow bell peppers and had really pretty thin-walled peppers. Is there a particular nutrient that causes really thin walls versus thicker walls in the pepper?
Nitrogen. Give them more nitrogen. That'll thicken up the walls. And then second would be phosphorus. Phosphorus promotes growth of the fruit. So we talk about the three major nutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Nitrogen, is what makes your lawn green, and it promotes the growth of the plant and just general yield and fruit size. Phosphorus is more for the fruit development, fruit wall thickness, fruit quality, and then potassium is more for your roots. It promotes good root growth and healthy roots.
Well, I'll see what I can do to get them more happy next year.
We can send you some seeds. That would be. Do you know what variety you planted?
Offhand, I do not remember what kind of poblano they were. They were delicious. I know that much.
Yeah, I like.
Do you think
nice stuff? Poblano, chili relleno is good. In the U.S., a lot of the restaurants that serve chili rellenos, they use Anaheim peppers. But in Mexico, the true chili relleno is made with the poblano pepper, and it's got a much deeper, richer flavor than an Anaheim. So when I make my own, I always use poblano peppers.
Well, I had just 3. Well, I'm happy that we had 3, but I wish we had more. 3 people that made comments. So I happen to have a hat here, and I have 3 little slips. Tracy, Diane, and Casey Tomato. So I'm gonna shake them around a little bit. Reach in there. Let's see what we get.
we need some background music?
We have Diane.
You have a shirt winner?
So Diane, if you're listening, maybe you could just pop in what size you prefer of shirt, and then we'll get in touch with you and figure out how we can deliver it to you. Well, it's sure been fun talking peppers with you, Terry. I really appreciate you taking the time out at the end of your day to join us. And
you're welcome. I enjoy peppers, all aspects of them: growing, eating, tasting, helping other people to grow them.
All right. Maybe if you have a recipe or 2 that you're willing to share, maybe I could put them in a blog post and make them available to folks. So, all right.
We can do recipes.
Well, Bren, where can folks find us if they want to look us up?
Well, of course, on Google, you can click on our little profile photos there, and please, like what you saw, hit that +1. Follow Adam or myself, and you can use the hashtag Garden Chatter on Google as well as on Twitter. And we've got some more great things coming up, but I'm excited. I want it to be summer. I want to grow my peppers.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us, and thank you, Terry, and we'll wrap with that.